Hey lovelies, bonjour, ça va? How are you today? I am so very excited to get to share with you my thoughts on the Chamonix Apres Ski palette from Nomad Cosmetics. So they did send this over in PR. I am very excited because this color story. When I first got this out of my mailer and I flipped over to the back, I was like, yes, I am here for this color story this winter, and I think this is gonna go great into spring as well. I love it when a palette is, you know, something that you aren't just gonna feel like you need to use for like a couple months of the year. And I definitely think that that is how I'm feeling about this color story. It's fresh, it's fun, I am here for it. I of course have a lot of thoughts after getting to play with this for the last week or so. I'm gonna show you 3 looks, including the one that I have done today. We have a lot to get into, so I am not gonna keep this intro too long, but if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist. And here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. I do also want to make a note that I do have a discount code with Nomad, so if you decide that you would like to pick up this palette after watching this video, you can use my code KEEPBEAUTYREAL to save, and that of course applies to anything else that, you know, tickles your fancy on the site. All right, so let's talk about this palette. So first of all, I love the vibe here. I think that, you know, Nomad always kills it with the packaging. I think this it just gives me such happy winter vibes. Like, I'll be honest, y'all, I am not one for winter sports. Sailing down a mountain on a polished piece of fiberglass or polished pieces of fiberglass with no brakes is not my jam. But the vibe, you could see me in a chalet sipping on a hot toddy or something. I don't know, but I like the vibe of this. So let's talk about the vibes of this palette. Like I said, the actual skiing part, not really my vibe, but the après ski, yes please, let's all hang out. If you aren't aware, Chamonix is a village in the Alpines. It's actually in France, but it is sort of near the border of Switzerland and Italy as well, so it's kind of like right there tucked into that corner. And Nomad Cosmetics created this palette with 9 wintry mattes, 6 twinkling shimmers, and 3 magical duochromes. And as always, with every launch, the brand chooses an association or a foundation to support. The foundation with this palette is Inspire Mont Blanc. This association works for better air quality and the protection of the environment in the Mont Blanc region. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at this palette. So I have to say, I just find that Nomad has really been doing quality, sturdy palettes with beautiful mirrors. So like I said, I think that the fun, wintry, celebratory vibes of this palette is absolutely beautiful. I just also have to give a nod to the box packaging. I really love that they show the shades on the back. If you are someone that likes to keep the boxes, let's say you like to keep everything like back in its packaging, it's really nice that you can pull this out, take a peek at the back if it's been a while since you've used the palette and you want to sort of get a vibe for the color story without having to pull it out. So I really like that. So I think oh, this light is like up. It's early, y'all. It's early in the morning, so I have my lights up quite a bit. But the vibes of this, like I said, it's wintry, but it's also bright enough that it could be like kind of like springtime vibes too. It's absolutely gorgeous. I am not going to swatch out all the shades just because I know by the time this video goes up, the brand will have shown swatches, but I will be swatching out the shimmers just so that we can like kind of see all those, especially with the iridescent multi-chrome. Sometimes that's nice to be able to see. And maybe you have a skin tone similar to mine and you kind of want to see the vibe of what it's going to look like. Now, I have both purchased a lot of Nomad palettes and also been sent them in PR, and I have to say, for the vast majority of them, I just always find that the quality is really great. So I'm always excited to try the color stories. I will give you all of my thoughts on the formulas in this palette towards the end of this video after you get to see all of the looks that I did. I used just about every color in here other than, you're probably not going to be surprised, but I did not dip into the blues and the purple in this one. With the launch of the last palette, I did go ahead and do a blue look, but you know, with 3 looks, you can only use so many shadows, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a peek at what these shimmers look like on the skin. I do want to just also make a note that I will have chapters down below. If you want to skip around, if you're looking for look inspo, if you really just kind of want to know what I'm thinking about the palette, all of that will be down below. I hope you stick around for the whole thing because honestly, I had a lot of fun and I hope that you have fun watching as well. So as we are getting into these swatches, I do just want to make a note that when I do these swatches, literally, like I will show you kind of what I'm doing. I am just kind of doing like 2 or 3 little runs around the pan. Wow. and then just doing a simple swatch. I am not like making these the most glorious, beautiful swatches by any means. These are just like real life. Let's kind of take a peek at what we have here. So I have to say one thing right off the bat. Now, I know that Nomad has done some iridescent multi-chromes before in some of their palettes, and I know that in a couple of the palettes, people felt like they missed the mark a little bit. Now, there was one palette, I'll show you these first four here. There was one palette that I felt like the soft, more velvety look of them was very pretty and unique, but I think that people were like, oh, wah, wah, when you're used to like, let's say you're a singles lover like me and you're used to like single shadows that are like super shifty and ba-bam, that wasn't quite it. This actually, I think, is a formula that people are really going to be happy with. I actually really love the Chamonix shade here. It is so pretty. You're not going to see quite as much. It's not picking it up on the camera. Let me see if I zoom in, if I can kind of get this. Nah, I don't know why I can see it in my mirror, but you can't see it there. But we have this beautiful green into like a lavendery pink shift here. It's very pretty. And then this shade here is almost more of a ultraviolet into like a periwinkle purple. I'm gonna try to see if I can get some of that. Gosh darn it. Sometimes, you know, you just can't pick it up on camera. Maybe if I go over a curved surface, you can see it there. But you can see that the base here is really very transparent, beautiful. I think that if you love just like a whisper of color all over the lid, like if you just made sure that you had enough of an eye base on, that, you know, your lids were primed well and you didn't have a lot of discoloration showing. That's coming from someone who has a lot of discoloration. Maybe you don't have any, so you wouldn't even need that, but it's just this beautiful, lovely, iridescent shade. So I'm already ooh and eyeing over these. So much for saving my thoughts to the end of the video. See, this is why sometimes you just have to stick around for the whole thing so that you get to see my little thoughts throughout the video. Okay, swatching with my non-dominant hand gets to be a little tricky, so we got a little carryover here, but you can see these shades here. Obviously, this is the one that I have on my lid for this look. Now, the only one that off of first swatch that I'm a little like wah-wah over is Mountain Chalet. And that's just because, now some people love this type of shadow and some people don't so much. So this has, it's very transparent, kind of thin. I would say that this is gonna be a shade that I will always use with a glitter glue and something that's honestly like more a topper vibe than anything. So that could be really pretty, but I just know for me, a shade like that, like I just wouldn't reach for it a lot, but it's a blue, so I wouldn't reach for it a lot anyway, let's be honest. Okay, so we've got 3 looks to talk about. I will be honest, 2 of them you will get to see me create, 1 you won't, because I was a dope who didn't have her camera running at the time, but you'll get to see it and I kind of run through it. So enjoy the looks. I will see you at the end for my final thoughts. All right, so the only thing that I know that I want to do is use this aperitif shade because it is so stunning, so deep and sparkly. Like this just looks so, oh yeah, look at that shade. Oh my gosh, very excited. Wow, okay. I have not, as I've been going through and doing these looks, this is probably the first look you're seeing, but the last look I did, I have not swatched out all of these. So it's just been like a joy as I've been using them. It's sort of like a little surprise. So yes, cannot wait. I definitely haven't dipped into enough of the greens in here, and I'm trying to use as many colors as possible, of course, for all of you as we get into this. So let's dive in. I can't wait to get this one on. Ooh, I just tried to get that one off my finger. So it does look like it might have a staining base. Just a little heads up. That never bothers me, even if I still have a little bit of stain at night when I go to sleep. Usually in the morning when I wash my face again, it's gone, but did want to mention that. So clearly I do not have on any makeup yet. I knew that with going in and doing like a little dark smoky situation, I just wanted to do my eye makeup first. I have to say, as far as like shimmer shadows go, typically Nomad, and I think I actually said this in another eye look here in this video, but typically Nomad has a pretty low amount of fallout, and definitely their mattes really don't usually have a lot of fallout, but we're going to be using some pretty dark colors, and just to be safe, I'd rather do my eyes first. All right, so I think I'm going to stick fairly monochromatic. I did jump around a lot and do more colorful looks with the other 2 looks, so I think we're just gonna stick kind of with these greens. I am really excited. Let's zoom in and we will get started. So while I want a nice smoky eye, I don't want it to get too out of hand. So I'm actually gonna start out and just map the shape with Mont Blanc, which is that dark green. So I'm gonna go just a little bit below where I want it to end, as far as like up into my crease, because I'll definitely be blending that out. And I'm just using a small brush. This is the E12. I really like this brush. By the way, this is from Larifay. I like this one because it's fluffy enough that you can get a blend, but it is concentrated enough that it's not going to, like, the bristles won't splay out and make a mess of, you know, a controlled look, I guess. I'm hoping it isn't too dark in here. It's still pretty early this morning and, you know, winter, Wisconsin. This has been a pretty dreary season. Probably because it hasn't been uber cold yet, because I find that the brightest days are the coldest days. And since it hasn't gotten stupid cold yet, we just have had such gray days. Okay, I got a little bit carried away there on the inner corner, but I don't need like a perfect blend on the end. That's not what I'm focusing on right now. If I try to do that with this brush, it's just gonna be more difficult. I need something a little fluffier, but I just wanted to map out that basic shape. I'm gonna do the same on the other eye, and then we'll go in with Ski, which is that next green up, to really blur out that edge. All right, to keep this nice and deep, I did decide to pull that matte shade just down into the outer corner. I think recently I've been doing a lot of looks where the shimmer is like all the way across, but I want to keep it a little bit deeper on the outside. So that's the only thing that changed. Now I'm going to go through with that mid-tone shade Ski, and then we're going to blur out the edge. I will say I had to put down the palette because this palette is so big. It is, for me, it is just too much to hold in my hand to like be trying to use as like the mirror for an entire like longer eye look. It's a beautiful mirror though, but it's like, wow, this palette. Okay, so now we're gonna take Ski, and I am using the E36 from Sigma, which you know that I love, and I'm just coming along that very edge to blend and blur this out. So if there's anywhere that I need to really blend out that previous color, this will also help that. And we'll just get a nice soft edge here. And because I'm using such a small brush to blend this out, we're gonna get nice and blurred, but I don't have to worry about it like pushing out the shape too much. So I find if I use a more densely packed blender like the E12 to really lay down the color, just sort of start that shape, then I can go through with a smaller, more delicate blender to really blur out the edge and get that soft look. You know, I'm all about the control. It's my Virgo tendencies. There's not much I can do about it. All right, I'm gonna pack just a little bit more of that dark color on. Now I'm just gonna clean up this edge. I'll probably go back through and just blur out the very edge of it, just because I want something that's not quite so like stark and crisp around the edge, but I just wanna make sure to keep this really lifted with my eye shape. All right, now it's time for the shimmer. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the Divina Specular Sparkle and Shimmer base, and I'm doing one eye at a time, just obviously so that the primer doesn't like dry as I am laying down the shimmer on one lid. And I'm going to go just into the crease here, like just ever so slightly above. Oh, I totally just put the shimmer glue over the matte on the outer corner, which is fine. I'll just have to cover it up again with the matte. I was like, oh man. So I'm packing the shade onto the Rougher 28, and I'm just going to tap this on. And I'm not too worried about it like getting on my lower lash line. Sometimes that happens when I'm doing this, but this is exactly why I did my eye makeup first. This would have been a pretty eyeshadow to have for the holiday. Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna just take whatever I have left on this brush and cover up that sparkle glue that I had. Dang it. It's fine. I just was like, oh yeah, I wasn't gonna take the shimmer all the way to the outside. Okay, so we're gonna do the glitter glue and the shimmer on the other side. I will say this shade is very pigmented. I did not have to go in on the other eye. I did not have to go back into the pan at all. That was all just from like one swipe into that shadow. I am going to do some cleanup that is needed, and then we will come back after I finish the rest of my makeup and we'll finish out this eye look. All right, some glossy balm, a little blush, lots of eyebrow, we're ready to go. I can't wait to set my face though, because the concealer that I used is fairly dry and I need a little hydration, but that is neither here nor there. We will get there at the end of this. I think, and one of the reasons why I put on a lot of concealer is I just find that when I'm wearing colors like this, I really have to take care of covering my dark inner corner, because otherwise I just look like I haven't gotten any sleep, which might also be the case. But I think I'm actually gonna do this fondue shade as my inner corner. I'm just gonna go in and do a really nice light matte. And one of the brushes that I absolutely love, I don't know if they probably make this brush, but not with this like handle. I really wish that Rephr made their handles like this. I prefer the long and like sleek as opposed to the short and chunky, but whatever. This is the 12, so they probably still make this brush, just not with this handle. So I'm gonna just tap into fondue. And what I like about this is this little like chunky rounded brush is perfect for stamping color on the inner corner. Whether it's a matte or a shimmer, it works really well. So I'm just gonna pop that on and then just sort of pull it into this shape a little bit. Now I feel like the only matte that I haven't used, probably not a shocker for any of you, is this Last Call, but I just really don't feel like wearing a powder blue under eye, so I think I'm just going to go in with that Ski shade. I think that that's kind of like a safe option here. I don't really need a lot, but I want enough to like balance out the look. So let's go ahead and grab the BK 210, and I'm just gonna quickly run some of that under the lower lash line. I might take a smidge of Mont Blanc to really deepen up that outer corner, but I want to see what this looks like first. It's really interesting because I feel like the more I blend out that Ski shade, it starts looking a little bit like lightly bluey. Like, I don't know, it's just like as I buff it out more and more, I find that I'm getting a little bit more blue out of it. I'm going to take a little bit of that also on the E36, and like I said, I thought I'd probably soften up this edge. Yeah, I definitely get like a more blue undertone from this. Actually, that's something that I wanted to say about Aperitif as well. It is not a green green, it's sort of like emerald, but with an undertone of like turquoise. So it's not like a green green, you know what I'm saying? So it's very pretty, but it definitely has a little bit of blue to it. Just one thing to sort of keep in mind. And on my olive skin, it's just what's going to show, especially when everything is packed on. So sometimes I find that colors, if you wear something a bit more sheer, your undertone will blend in with the color that you're wearing. So a lot of times when someone with an olive or a yellowy undertone skin puts on a blue, it looks more green. But if you really pack it on, then you're not gonna get any of that dilution of that tone. So then you just have the contrast of it. So for me right now, with the olive of my skin, this is actually gonna look a little bit more blue in contrast, in my opinion. Okay, I like that. I don't think that I need to deepen up that outer corner anymore. I just think that this is nice and balanced, but we do need some mascara. With a look this like smoky, I definitely want to wear lots and lots of mascara, so I will go do that and we'll see the final result. Okay, really quick, before I have the mascara, I also just used a little bit of setting spray. I just went through with the Maracuja Miracle Mist from Tarte. I don't know if they still make this. I was going to use the Urban Decay All Nighter with the hyaluronic acid, but the sprayer on this just kind of spits at me, so I just wanted something really fine. But look, that just brought back life to my skin. It just, now I'm like, oh, here's Kelly, not like some uber matte-faced doll. So, okay, now I'm gonna go do mascara. All right, here we are with this smoky look. I just love this. This gives me total winter, like date night vibes. I'm absolutely here for it. You'll have to let me know. Yeah, it's just so luminous and sparkly. This is just such a jewel toned, gorgeous vibe. I'm really here for it. I did put on some black waterline liner. I just thought that that kind of went along with the vibe, and I am very happy. So now let's take a look at the other two looks that I did with the palette, and I will come back at the end to share all of my final thoughts after getting to play with this for the last week or so. I have done a look that I felt like was a little bit lighter. Today, I think I want to go a little bit brighter, more vivid. So I think I'm gonna focus the look around Vin Chaude. So we'll see. We'll see what else we end up throwing in here. I'm trying to use a variety of the colors in here, and I think while very obviously you can use these almost as like six pans, I'm trying to sort of like jump around a little bit more to show you more opportunities, because I think it's very easy to see the opportunities within these little 6 pans. So let me know if you're enjoying that, by the way, or if you do enjoy it throughout this video. But I am just gonna put some music on and experiment. We'll see how this goes. I will give you my thoughts at the end.
I'm an expert at overthinking things that I shouldn't. You come across as a cool guy, someone who's the opposite. And all my friends are leaving, but I wanna stay here. Can we just stay here? Maybe just one more drink. I can't help but think, where have you been? All my life, all the lonely nights. You were always there at the same damn bar. I just never looked your way. And I've seen every ocean, but I've never seen a color blue. Look into your eyes. Blue. When I'm nervous, I talk too much and overshare things. Yeah, I can be a mess, but you somehow like me for me. And all your friends are wasted. You wanna stay here? Oh, we should just stay here. Maybe just for one more drink, I can't help.
Well, I have to say that this look got a little bit more dramatic than I was intending, which happens sometimes, but I do really like it. I did really enjoy using that Vin Showed as my lid shade. Now today I did go through with a eyeshadow primer first. I've just been trying to use this Nars one up. It's not like, oh my gosh, a lifesaver for me, but I have it and I'm trying to use it up. But then I did decide to use a glitter glue. So the first look that I did, which honestly I think is probably gonna be the last one that you're gonna see, I did not use one, and right away with that shade I was like, gosh, I kind of wish I'd used a glitter glue. So I am giving it a whirl today. I do think it helped. This shade is, because it is so metallic, it is a bit flaky. So that is one thing that I noticed when I was putting this on. I applied it dry and it was definitely like falling out because it was dry on the brush. So even as I was like trying to be careful packing it on, I did get quite a bit of fallout under the eye, which is exactly why I put on my eye makeup first before anything else, because it was so easy to whisk away. But just to say, a lot of times with Nomad shimmers, I don't necessarily have a problem doing most of my eye look when my makeup's already done, because I don't find that they have a ton of fallout. This one I think would be a different story. So I also was like going crazy packing it on. So that is one thing just to note there. But as you saw, I used the Divina glitter glue and everything looks great. Now, as far as the other shades, for the most part, my crease shade was the La Terraza shade. Now that one, I do want to note that for me on my lids, it did come out almost more of like a periwinkle. It definitely is leaning really hard into the blue. So if you want something that's a little bit more purple, you might want to put on Haute Savoy first and then blend those two together. Haute Savoy is the pink. So just to get a little bit more of that like red undertone essentially in there to kind of like blend with the blue that's in that shade. But it did turn out pretty. It just is definitely very like periwinkle forward. It's very pretty. I do also think that Raclette made the perfect blend out shade. I think that there's just something when you have a shade that is so colorful, having a nearly neutral to blend out. Now that probably won't work for every skin tone, but it did work to just sort of blur the edge. Valet Blanche, I think that's what that is. It's a little dark right where Blanche is, but I think that that's what it is. I love that shade. That one I'm looking forward to using more. It's just that beautiful like deep purpley plum, very pretty. So altogether really good. Last run is what I used on my inner corner. While it is a bit darker shade, I wanted to use something a little bit different just to see how many inner corner options I could get, and that was great. I did, let's see, what was the pencil brush? Oh, I actually went through with the Spectrum B12, which is a little bit fluffier. I wanted something that was a little bit like lighter. I didn't want to pack it on too much and have it be overly metallic on the inner corner. Now I was having a bit of difficulty picking that one up with this brush. It's not fluffy, but it's not overly firm either. So that might be something that I'll have to pay attention to more in the future. Just a little note on that one. But so far, so good. I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna have fun wearing this more dramatic look to work today. And the one thing about this is like, I'm gonna have this on at work for like 10 hours. So I will be able to tell you how it held up through everything. I usually find that Nomad shadows, the colors stay bright all day long. Things don't usually fade, even on the times that I'm not using a eyeshadow primer. So really excited to see how this one wears. Hope you've enjoyed these looks so far. All right, I'm gutted, but clearly the excitement of popping open this palette, I literally just got this out of the mail and I was like, yay, I'm sitting down to film. I'm totally gonna do a look with this beautiful palette. Pretty sure I never actually turned the camera on. Spent all the time making sure the lighting was good, blah, blah, blah. Never hit start. So let me just quickly go over this because I really love this. So right away, I knew that I wanted to use Apres. That to me was the shade that just automatically, when I opened up this palette, it stood out to me. It's a green, it's shimmery. You're probably not that surprised. So other than that, I didn't really know what I was gonna do. So what I ended up doing was I went through with Auf Piste and put that pretty much over the entire eye. I really was more so using that as a base shadow to be able to soften out everything over the top of it and to have a bit of something laid down to then go over with Apres. So then I went through with Haute Savoy, just kind of like blended that through the crease. So sort of blurred it out. It's a little bit lighter just because I did put down Auf Piste first. And then I did go through with Apres. I was tempted to use a glitter glue, and next time I use the shadow, I might do that. It is just a bit flaky when you put it on, so there was a bit of fallout, but I think it would also just like make that color pop a little bit more. I wanted something just a little bit softer, and I, you know, that I always want to like try something without any like primers or glitter glues or anything. We're gonna do 3 looks in this video, I'm pretty sure, including this one, which is why I'm sad that it wasn't recording. Sorry about that. But then I went through with Ski on the lower lash line just to kind of draw in that green. Now, I was thinking of going in with Chamonix through the inner corner, but I actually wanted to try just like drawing in a different color other than the green, just to make that green stand out more. So I went through with Les Alpes, and that is the one that's on my inner corner, which is more of like an ultraviolet-y type shade. I went in like without even swatching any of these, so either of these could have worked, but see how I feel like that would have like taken away from that lid shade. So I wanted something that would like sort of like pop out and be something different. I have to be honest. I mean, this is very clearly the first time touching this palette, but I am just like so very happy with this look. So very, very happy. Can't wait to do 2 more looks, and I will make sure that I'm recording next time. Sorry about that. All right, lovelies, I hope you enjoyed getting to see those 3 looks. I have to say, I really enjoyed creating them, absolutely. All of the looks would have lasted all day very well. 2 of the looks did last all day very well. The 3rd one that you got to see here, the one that you didn't see me film, the lid shade creased. However, I know that that's because of what I had on underneath it. That day, the base that I was wearing is a very sort of like slippy thing, and I was an idiot and I put it onto my eyelids and I knew right away. I was like, ugh. So that would have gone better for me if I hadn't done that. So I will say that was on me and not on the shadows. I will say that typically with Nomad Cosmetics formulas, they last all day for me. A couple of the shadows that are more of that like super silky, more like uber multi-chrome formula, I do want to make sure that I'm wearing a base with them because just that formula in general just tends to be more slippy. But all of these have that more classic Nomad shimmer feel to them. Even the iridescents have just that feel that I've that I just have come to know and trust from Nomad. So I will say that. Also, all of the mattes performed beautifully. The only one that I didn't touch again was that Last Call shade. I think it's probably going to be fine. Now, one note to make, and I am just guessing as far as the Mountain Chalet shade, but I did mention when I used Last Run in my inner corner in that one look that I was having a hard time picking it up. When I did the finger swatches, I also had the same problem. Now, I don't love doing finger swatches because I do feel like oftentimes you end up packing shadow into the pan further. So what I'll probably do is when I go to use these shades the next time, I will rough it up with a toothy brush just to see if that helps, just so that that like initial layer on the top isn't so settled, if that makes sense. But the Mountain Chalet shade, I feel that same thing where it's like when you run your finger over it, it doesn't pick it up, it just kind of compresses the shade into the pan. That being said, I'm not a finger user, so that's not really a big deal, but that does make me wonder if this is going to be a shade that's a little bit harder to pick up as well. Sometimes you just find formulas like that in palettes, so I just want to make a note of that. Everything worked really beautifully. As I mentioned, the shade Vin showed is actually the only one that I felt like had a bit more of a flaky kick up in the pan. It isn't flaky on the eye, it doesn't look textured, but I can just see that it does. I don't know if it's because it does look like some of the sparkle particles are just a little bit bigger perhaps, but I did just find that. So just some thoughts on that. Nothing in here was hard to use per se, but I just wanted to make notes on that. So I absolutely love it. I love this color story for, like, I would say evergreen usability, I guess, for, if I want to call it that. I personally, it would not have like aesthetically made sense as far as like how this palette is laid out. I mean, really, you have essentially three themes of color here. You have the mattes, the shimmers, and then you have the transition from deep until light, almost into that pastel vibe. But what I personally would like to see is just like one neutral in here somewhere. Just in case you had this palette out, you just wanted to do a really simple look one day and you're like, you know what I want is just like a neutral in the crease and then like one of these fun shimmers and I'm out the door. It would just make it that much more of a usable palette. This is definitely totally usable, but it for me would just present more opportunity. I don't know where you would stick that in here, especially since like if you did it in one of these rows, it's not like dead center and that just like would irk me. Just like visually, but I love this. I love that you have several inner corner options in here. You know that makes my heart go pitter patter. We do definitely have some deepening shades, some lighter shades, some mid-tones. So I think that as far as like depth, this is a very balanced palette. I've been really pleased with the balance in the palettes that I've seen from Nomad recently. I will say, like, even though, I mean, you guys know that I love the Chicago palette, but that one doesn't have any inner corner shades for me, but it's pretty easy to reach out. However, this one does, and so I don't have to do any reaching for anything else, and I absolutely love that. Now, as far as pricing goes, the brand has not released that yet as I am filming this. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be in that $49 range, just comparing it to previous palettes, but I will put it up here if it is already known. And again, you can use my code KEEPBEAUTYREAL if you do decide that you would like this palette. And I will say this one definitely has the KEEPBEAUTYREAL stamp of approval. I think that if this is your color story, I would definitely give it a go. It's beautiful. I love the luminosity of the shades. I enjoyed every single look that I wore. I definitely think there's so much more possibility within this, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun playing with this one this winter. So that being said, thank you so much to the brand for sending this one over to me. And again, just because I get something in PR does not mean that I am not gonna keep it real with you guys. I really try to do that. And if you're not new to my channel, you will know that there have been a couple Nomad palettes that haven't hit the mark for me. So I will always be honest, but this one definitely did. So that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed getting to see the looks that I created and hearing my thoughts on this palette. If there's any questions that you have that I didn't answer, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. I will be happy to chat with you down there. And I hope you're all having a great winter, and I will see you really soon.